What do you got for me?
What's wrong with you people?
I got nothing for you.
What's wrong?
You're not David. How do y'all feel this morning? I feel rotten. That's how I feel. Well, that was enough for me. We could have had the benediction right there. That was so good.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to The Reformatory, the podcast for the local church and by the local church. And we are your local churchmen. And Jack is back, baby. Jack, my friend, you are back in the saddle again. Dude, welcome back to the podcast, man.
Yes, sir. After a much-needed hiatus, yes, I return.
Yeah.
I return to you all.
You return in glorious fashion, my friend. It is good to see you. I would ask if you feel recovered and rested, but you were on paternity leave, so I know that's not the case.
Just and in true fashion, when I came to work, I work remotely, but my first day of work, literally last night, my son was like either cluster feeding or purposely wanted to mess with me just to be like, hey, just remember who's boss, Dad.
That's right.
So, yeah, last night was
right.
a little bit of an interesting time trying to even sleep to a certain degree, but there's coffee for that. So we can adjust.
There are supplements that one can take to make sure that that goes away. So Theo's doing good. Mama's doing good.
Yes.
I was just able to get down there and see you guys just a couple days ago. I brought Theo.
Yeah.
Dude, have you put Theo in the onesie yet? Is he in the onesie?
He's way too small
He's too
for
small. He's too small. I got
he's
the big
too
one.
he's too
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean he'll grow into that though. I feel like you give him maybe, I mean, right now some of the infant clothes are getting a little tight on him.
Yeah.
So he's starting to level up a little bit there, and we have a big time. We have an appointment tomorrow to see how much he weighs and to see how Mom is doing as well too, and everything like that. And so we'll know more tomorrow morning on kind of where he's at percentile wise and everything like that.
All right.
But no, he's been steadily growing, but I don't think he's to the I think you gave him a 3 to 6 month old jumper,
something like that,
or something like that.
Anyway, I'm expecting
it's not quite
pics
there yet,
because
but
I got Theo this amazing onesie that has like Spurgeon's face on it. I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked for it. So, dude, okay, Jack, we have a mountain load of business to get to today. Okay, so today it's your first episode back, right? So we don't want to just hit you with everything at once, right? We're gonna kind of ease into it, dude. But today, dude, we've got, man, it's episode 201, Jack.
Yes, sir.
Let's not bury the lead. All right, we hit episode 200 with Nick Badsick, right? And I didn't really feel right celebrating our 200th episode with Nick, right? Although Nick's a great guy, it was a great ep, love doing it. I needed you here, so we are going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate today, Jack, episode 200 on this episode 201. So, can you? I was sitting in my living room the other day, dude. And I thought, man, 200 episodes. Like most podcasts only make it, the statistics on most podcasts only last about 30 eps, right? The vast majority of podcasts just fizzle out before they even get started. You and I, and then I looked up the stats. I think I was with you. I think we did this at the lounge, didn't we?
Oh, yeah,
I looked up how many episodes was with Daniel, and then how many, at what time you took over, dude. Daniel, I bless his heart, right? Love him to death. He didn't even make it a year. he had like 40, like 42, 43 Fs or something like that. Jack, you and I have been doing this for years now. We have passed 200 episodes, dude. Thoughts on that? Like, to me, that's crazy. It just, I can't believe that we still have listeners for one thing.
Yeah, well, it's been crazy because I feel like we've hit, I started to come on board during what was kind of like this new, I don't know, we kind of survived the summer of COVID, so to say, right?
Right.
And we came into a time in which we were starting to podcast together. And then on top of that, we went to that Doc and Devo conference. Yep. Dude, that was like our first official
coming
podcast
out.
trip.
Podcast coming out.
Podcast trip.
Yeah.
And we came out of that. We survived that. We got the little push. We got the little Jimmy and Joey blessing push right there from that.
Yep. It helps.
And then, I mean, you saw me get married. You saw me have my first son, stuff like that. So it's been I feel like this is not just necessarily a podcast, but it's kind of like seeing life develop over time versus Daniel. You had him for a quarter.
Oh,
okay, you had him for a semester, and then he left.
I had him for a semester,
and then he transferred.
Jack and I had Daniel transferred to a different school, right. He came to the public school that is the Reformatory, and he's like, not for me. I'm going to the bougie private school, right? That's where he ended up going. Jack and I have graduated together. We have been through the crap together. But no, I mean, all joking aside. You're 100% right, man. I think back on when we first started, where God had us in our lives, the things that we had gone through, the things that we would go through.
Yeah.
Dude, at the risk of getting sentimental, from the bottom of my heart, dude, I could not think of anyone better to go through these stages of life with me. And just the fact that we are at over 200 episodes now, it just really warms my heart, and it really to me just makes me appreciate and love the friendship that we have, because you can kind of, like you said, you can track it. You can track the stages of life that we've been in, depending on kind of where the podcast is, right? And people that listen to the podcast can hear that, because we don't hide it. They can hear the eps where we're down. They can hear the eps where we're great. They can hear and that they can hear the progression of life. And having a friend to be able to go through life with is such an underrated blessing that I don't think gets focused on enough. So, dude, I love you, and over 200 eps, dude. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's so crazy too, because I think for us, as well too. We went through so many life stages, and then we went through simultaneously church hurt together. And that definitely builds some resilience and some perseverance as well too. And so there was, I think the Lord kind of used that, so to say, in a way in which he could better help us talk about that more. And share our experiences more. And I think it was in a way, too, where we were both kind of bouncing these feelings and emotions off of each other.
Yeah.
In a way where I think a lot of people during that time were just they got hurt, they went into isolation, they may have abandoned their faith, they may have just shipwrecked their faith. We don't know. But it seemed like the Lord was doing something in the way that he used Josh and I's friendship to kind of bounce off one another and kind of make it a way in which we didn't go it alone. Although we did have our wives with us during those times and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah,
but
of
I think
course.
there's I think there's different dynamics that you have when you have other friends who go through this stuff, and you're just like, what the heck is happening to me right now? So I think there was just stuff that we were going through that I think it just helped that we were both going through it maybe kind of simultaneously at the same time. And then we were talking about it as well, too, and trying to help people in local churches to try and decipher how to go about that. And so I think about those times that really kind of shape us here kind of on the podcast, too, and kind of how we've been able to, talk through some church stuff and everything along those lines. But, yeah, it is, man, it's interesting because, I mean, we're almost at a stage to where, I mean, most people fulfill like their military contract in about 3 years. I'm looking at you, Air Force and Navy. Or some
Keep
people,
it civil.
some people only go to, some people, instead of like Tommy Boy, some people go to college for 6 years or 7 years. Some people only go to college for 3 years,
That's right.
Just stuff like that. It's just like very, it shows that Josh and I are like trying to be there and trying to minister in a way in which we encourage the local church, and just through kind of like our friendship and how we talk about things about the local church and everything like that. But yeah. It's very, I think I was talking to you about this at the lounge, and I think we were just reflecting on this too, and just how like, man, it's been 3 years already. It does not seem like 3 years.
Well, I mean, the COVID years don't count, right? Like we can't. It's so crazy, like doing life through COVID and what a blur those years were. But yeah, dude, like this podcast. I mean, doing this podcast with you, first and foremost, has been just such a joy. Just because of just the laughter and the good times and just the fellowship that we get to have. But on a more serious end, like it has been a type of accountability for me, especially going through those hard times that you already talked about. Because I know it's like, look, I have got this podcast, this goofy, small, like whatever it is podcast, where I get on here and I tell people to love their local church, right? And having that really in many ways and at many times was a great motivator for me to press into the church when I didn't want to. Because here's the thing, folks, and we've been candid about this. There have been many times during this podcast, right? There's been many times during the recordings of these podcasts that both Jack and I did not want to do the things that we were encouraging others to do. Right? We talk about pressing into the church. We talk about pressing into the pain. We talk about committing to your local church, even though it's not perfect. There have been so many times during this podcast where I did not feel like doing that. And just simply the fact of knowing that I have this thing that I do, and I have a co-host who's going through the same thing, expecting we are going to do this together, right? Simply having that camaraderie, that accountability, and having that other friend in the foxhole with you, and all of you listeners, honestly, it's the same with you. I mean, obviously the relationships are different, but knowing that there are people listening right now that have gone through or are going through the same things that we have, and for some reason they're still listening to the Reformatory, and I think it's got to be for that encouragement. Like that provided such accountability for me during those times of like, you got to practice what you preach. It's easy to say, but the proof is in the pudding, and you actually have to get going. And like it's things like that that make me really thankful for having started this and for like continuing with it. Like it's by the grace of God that people still listen. But man, I don't know, just over 200 episodes, Jack. It blows my mind. It's crazy.
And it's so funny too, because I remember when we had talked about like the Reformatory and where it might go Because I think at first you were on kind of like a different trajectory with Daniel and stuff like that, which wasn't a bad trajectory at all.
No, it was just different.
It has turned into this thing to where we come on the podcast knowing that we do need to have a reformatory. We do need to have a space to like reform and talk about how we keep reforming and how we keep holding on to that idea that the Reformation brought about, that kind of looked back at church history, but also is looking forward as well too. And so I think it just goes hand in hand to what we want for people, that we want people to know that the local church is there. It should be their reformatory. It's not just this podcast. Their local church is that place to where they keep reforming and they keep going back and they keep getting reformed and over again. And so I think it just shows us how we've taken this idea that kind of Josh had and with Daniel, and then we've kind of reformed it into this place in which we keep reforming. So anyway.
No, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's when you took over, there was a part of me that was worried, not having anything to do with you, but because I was like, man, like this is gonna, like everything's gonna change, and I don't know where we're gonna go. I don't know the direction that things are gonna take. Is the dynamic with Jack and I gonna work? Like there's so much there that was unknown, and then I just feel like, Jack, like we hit our stride so quickly. And then when we finally decided, I remember the conversation with you. We were at Thunderbird in Tacoma, and we were talking about kind of the future of the pod, what we wanted to do. And it was just such a natural click for us to be like, it needs to be the local church. Like that needs to be the focus, right? That needs to be the filter that we do every ep through, because frankly, that's the thing that Jack and I are the most passionate about, right? And we had that discussion. I remember sitting there smoking with you, having that discussion. Like, look, there are so many podcasts that do the cultural issues and the deep theology and things like that, and they do them very well, right? And we didn't want to add to that noise because that wasn't something that we were very passionate about or felt like had longevity, right? And it was just through those conversations that we were like, that local church focus is where it's at. That's where both of our hearts are at. That's not something that's going to go away. And I really feel like it was at that moment, and it was probably just a couple eps into after you took over. It was then where the reformatory really hit its stride and took on kind of the ethos that it has today. And I think it was the best thing that could have happened, not only to the podcast itself, but to me as an individual, because the Lord, like I've already talked about, the Lord used that focus in such a powerful and meaningful way in my life that I'm really thankful that it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I still go back to, I think probably like that first forming event was like us going to Doc and Devo for that conference with Sam Rinahan.
That was big. Yeah.
I just thought that was like one of like, I think that really helped us to go forward and think about things and what did we want to do with the podcast going further and everything along those lines. And so, yeah, man, I just thought that was like a good forming event for us. But I mean, it's been great to talk about these things. Through our friendship and through this podcast, because it gives a glimpse to what people, it's just, and on top of it, it's just not this, this whole shtick of the day or anything like that. We're like taking a certain particular thing that the local church is going through or the bigger C church is going through, and we're trying to metastasize it down so that people can understand what this looks like in their local church context, so that it's just, we're not just speaking into the ether, but we're actually trying to make it like manifestly understandable to people so that they can understand problems and issues that people are going through, or what this looks like in a local church, or you hear about this that's going on in the Twitter sphere. I'm sorry, the X sphere or whatever you want to call that
dude.
now.
Dude, it finally updated on my phone too. It just updated.
hate it.
I looked at it. I looked at it. It is now X. Look at that. Can you see that? I don't know if it's focusing.
I hate it.
Look at it. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. I hate it.
My goodness.
In any case, so I think we're not just here to like, yeah, we'll give out cigar reviews. Yeah, we'll do all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of lighthearted and everything along
Yeah.
those lines. But we want people to really take heart and know that the way that you move forward in faith, the way that you continually get refreshed and renewed is through your local church and through your local pastors and through your local deacons and through your local church members. And those people are going to be the people that stay with you, hopefully through thick and thin. I mean, Josh and I know that we've been through some crap in the local church.
It doesn't always work
but
like that. You know, that's the reality. Like Jack and I aren't ignorant to that, you know, but it's still, it's one of those things that we've talked about before, that even though the reality is that it won't always work out in the way that you want it to, it doesn't mean that you stop. It doesn't mean that you stop. Right? And it's so counterculture to pretty much everything else. Like in normal culture, if you're meeting such resistance and such pain, the natural inclination is to stop, turn around, and go the other way. But we can't do that in Christianity. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We don't have that luxury, right? And sometimes that pain and that resistance finds its way into the local church. And there are too many people today that claim to be Christ followers that meet that resistance, meet that pain, and throw the church away altogether.
Yeah.
And we can't do it. Not only is it unbiblical, but it's dangerous. And it's a death sentence to your faith. Right?
Yeah.
And that's I think why, I don't know, Jack, I feel like that's one of the greatest motivations of why I keep coming to record this, is because one, I need to hear that. And two, like if we can influence and encourage one person just to step through the doors of the local church. I know it hurts. I know it's scary. Just do it. Do it. Like, then this podcast is worth it. I don't know about you, but I feel like it makes it worth it.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. But I mean, and we've said this time and time again too, the church, and you even said it too on my hiatus. I think Jeremiah said this. The church will simultaneously be a place where you may get hurt, but it may also be a place where you will be healed again and you'll find refuge again.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like for me, I think Josh and I are both at this place in life where we're both in local churches where we're seeing the sweetness of refuge. We're seeing the sweetness of fellowship again, to where we thought that was just like a business proposition or business dealings, or you're only in leadership because we need people and we're taking business concepts and putting it into this leadership model and blah, 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 blah. But I think Josh and I are hitting this kind of stride in life right now, at least, to where we're seeing the church in a way where I think we always wanted it to be at, where you see this sweetness of fellowship, where you see kind of this co-sanctification happening between the saints of your local church as well, too. And you're starting to see this stride happen. And so, I don't know. I think we're at this point in life as well, too, that I don't think either one of us necessarily thought we would find. But,
I know. Well, yeah, that's such the ironic
You know?
thing, right? Because, you know, I'm sure our listeners can hear it in a lot of the eps, but Jack and I have done this podcast together for a while now and have talked at great length about the comfort and the joy and the peace and the encouragement that comes from the local church. And I think what our listeners, it's good for them to know, is that we were saying those things a great majority of that time without experiencing it in the moment.
Yeah.
Jack and I have both been in recent, just very bad situations where the church just hurt. And it required us to hold on to what we know is true, even though our experience is telling us different. Right? But what Jack and I are telling you now is that those things are true. Even though you might not be experiencing it in the moment. The storm will end. We don't know when. We don't know how. We don't know, at what the circumstances are going to be. But the Lord will bring blessing, and He will bring that comfort and that joy that we're talking about. And Jack's 100% right. Like, it took a while, but thanks be to God, where we're at right now. Like, both Jack and I love our churches. We love our church family. Like, I can't imagine leaving. And that's just, it's a testament to the grace of God, and in allowing that perseverance to be there, even because I can 100% guarantee you, Jack, like, without God's strength, without the grace of Christ strengthening me through those years, I don't think I would have waited. I don't think I would have lasted long enough to see the storm end.
Yeah.
So it's just an amazing testament, as small of a thing as it is, and as in the grand scheme of things, as inconsequential as the Reformatory podcast is, over 200 episodes is just kind of a monument to the grace of God in my eyes, because I know how many of those episodes were recorded in pain and sadness and anger and grief, and where the Lord has brought us. And that's just, I don't know, man. Like, I see sanctification in 200 episodes, and that's a huge encouragement to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Jack, we have a little business, all right? Before we close this ep out, right? We wanted to make this kind of a fun ep, right? It's your first ep back. We don't want to just throw you to the wolves right away, right? We want to give you time to, check your email and sort through all of the, all of the different messages that are there and things like that. And, if you're anything like me, when you get back from a vacation, you just Control-Alt-Delete emails, and you feel like if it's important, they'll email back. You know what I'm saying? Like it can't be that important, right? But Jack, while you were gone, we had a faithful listener join up for the Patreon, and their name needs to be hallowed today.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Yep, this is it, baby. All right, Mr. and you'll recognize this name. I'll recognize this name. Mr. Tabor Brown.
Oh,
Tabor.
Here we go, people.
Now, is it Tabor or Tabor? It is an O-R, so I'm going Tabor because it sounds cooler.
I think it's Mount Tabor. If I'm not mistaken.
That's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Because I think his name is based on Mount Tabor, which is just right there in the Portland area. Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Tabor, you, my friend, you already knew it. We already knew it, but you are a legend. He joined the ranks of the Reformatory. He joined the Podluck. He showed up. He brought food, and he's enjoying the fruits. He's enjoying all of the exclusive content that comes with that $5 holla. And my friend Tabor, you have joined the ranks, and your name has been hallowed.
It's been hallowed, sir. Hallowed.
Hallowed through the halls of this podcast, my friend. Thank you for your patronage. We really, really appreciate you joining up. And ladies and gentlemen, you too can benefit from exclusive content. I'm just telling you right now, right? If you appreciate the Reformatory, right? If you're thinking, man, 200 episodes, what an amazing feat. What a feat of resilience, of stamina, right? You could join the Patreon. You could join our Podluck, if you will. Show up for the exclusive content for a $5 holla. That's all it would take. And you, too, would become a Patreon supporter, and your name should be hallowed as well. And I'm just saying, man, you get bonus eps, right? You get exclusive video and content. I just put up a music review up on or a music suggestion, if you will, up on Patreon that I didn't put out to the socials. That was just for our Patreon peeps. I'm just saying, all right, you get some good stuff like that. So head on over to Reformatory or Reformatory Pod, join Tabor, and get yourself some of that sweet, sweet exclusive content. All right, Jack. Before we get out of here, we're doing things a little different. All right, we are ending today. We are ending today with an amazing cigar review. This is what we got, okay? And because I want to take it easy on you, because I want to ease you in. We don't want to throw the whole workload on you, right? I'm just thankful you showed up, and you proved Daniel wrong, and you did not just have a child to get out of the reformatory. All right. What a Daniel thing to say, too. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
completely.
Come on. Oh, man. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. The dude's off the hook. Dude, I'm going to take the cigar review today. I have a cigar for you. I have a cigar for our people. And this is where it's at, all right? We are going as boutique as it gets right here, okay, dude? This company was started in 2020, I believe. So they were born out of the ashes of the pandemic. All right? The company is Apostate Cigars. All right? Apostate Cigars. That's right. You heard it right. And we have listeners right now thinking like, what the apostate? Like that's a weird name. Well, let me explain. There were a couple Mormon dudes that got really into cigars and then got kicked out of the Mormon church.
And they got kicked out of the Mormon church.
They got kicked out of the Mormon church. So what they did is the Mormon church labeled them apostate, and they said, okay, fine, we'll take the name, we'll take the weird symbols and all your weird church stuff, and we're going to use it for branding.
Yep.
So, my friends, if you want to support not only a boutique, excellent cigar company, but also stick it to the Mormons, then you got to get some of cigars.
Oh, my gosh.
The cigar today is the Deseret. It is the Apostate number 2 Deseret, right? So I had it in the Robusto. It is a fantastic stick. All right, Apostate. Not only is their branding on point, like it looks really cool. The construction of these cigars are fantastic. The taste on these cigars are even better. I've never had to relight one. The smoke output and the draws are always 5 out of 5. They're fantastic, right? But the Apostate number 2, the Deseret by Apostate Cigars, has a San Andreas wrapper. Absolutely delicious. The binder is from the Dominican Republic. It's OLOR. I've actually haven't heard of that one. Olar.
I'd have to take a look at that.
Something like that. Too. Anyway, it's a fantastic binder. The filler is Nicaraguan and Dominican Republic thrown together. Dude, this cigar, it's not a spice bomb, which I absolutely love. It is got some amazing flavor. It's sweet. You get a little honey in there. You get a little of that dark chocolate coffee, a little bit of leather, right? So when you're smoking it, it's got that great smoky, like almost alfalfa taste, but then it finishes with a sweetness. This stick, you got to get it. If your local brick and mortar doesn't have it, you got to go to Apostate Cigars and go get the Deseret number 2. It is absolutely worth it. My camera just shut off, which it's been doing recently. So that means that it's probably time to leave. All right, but go get it. Go get it. Jack, while I fix my camera, my friend, why don't you... Oh, I almost forgot. I got to close it out. I mean, what's wrong with me? See, this is what happens when Jack's been gone for a long time. I got to close it out correctly. All right, that is the Reformatory Cigar of the Week. Go and smoke to the glory of God. There we go. Okay. Now, Jack, why don't you get us out of here, my friend?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you appreciate more of our episodes where we kind of take it back and reflect upon God's grace to us upon all these years of the Reformatory, you can continue to follow us more on the Sociables, if you will. And the Sociables, I don't know if I've been gone. So Josh needs to correct me if we're not on these social platforms anymore. We're still on the metaverse. We're still on
we're
Facebook,
all there.
correct?
Yeah, we're everywhere.
We are still on the Instantgram.
Still there.
Goes well with chocolate and marshmallow.
Yep.
But now we're on X.
We're on X.
We're on X.
X gonna give it to you. Yep.
Are we on Threads yet? Are we lingering on Threads?
I am personally on Threads. The Reformatory
Okay.
does not have Threads yet, but maybe I should get the Reformatory thread.
So
Maybe I
we
should.
are on
We're on all of
multiple different sociable platforms, but we are not. The Tweaker, the Twitter, the Little Blue Bird has been
Yeah.
reborn as X, and I
It
don't
is
really
now
know what
X.
to do with that.
We will think of something.
So yeah, we will think of something in the meantime to figure out what X is and how it's going to go. But anyway, you can follow us all on those platforms at the
Yep.
tag @ReformatoryPod. And Josh, I think Josh has told you already that you can
Oh,
follow
yeah.
us on Patreon. Josh, you can tell them further how they might support us in our endeavors to make the local church central to the believer's life.
That's right. Well, we already gave Patreon a plug. Head on over there. Get yourself some Patreon. Get some of that exclusive content. That'd be fantastic. Make sure to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Right? You can head on over to all of the socials. As Jack has already said, we might have Threads. I might look that up. We might see if we can make that happen. Let's see. What else, Jack? I think that's about it, man. Oh, last but not least, YouTube. People, we have YouTube now.
Yes.
Right? So head on
we
over
do.
to our YouTube channel. You can watch videos of this, and you can watch my camera go on and off. I just need a new camera, apparently. So you can watch all of the technical hijinks that happen on this podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube. It's just at Reformatory Pod. It's the exact same thing, right? We thank you all for listening. Jack, it is great to have you back, my friend. Looking forward to more eps. Look at that, just in time. We will thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next step of the Reformatory. This stupid camera.